Hi guys, Jay Walker here, and I'm in the BMW 520i Sport. Now, this is a bit different from the 520i Luxury that we reviewed a couple of months ago. I'll show you later the differences. Since I want to give you guys the most thorough test that I can do in the 4 days that I have this car, we'll go on a road trip to Nuvali. We'll test its fuel efficiency, its acceleration, handling, NVH levels. We'll try to make this the most thorough test of the 520i Sport on the internet. So, is it worth your money? Let's find out. First off, before we go on that road trip, let's take a quick look around the car. The car is gorgeous. I'm not usually a fan of the color silver, but the 5 Series looks good in any color. And I think silver does a better job of showing off its lines than black. I'm a BMW enthusiast, so I might be a bit biased, but I think it's a much better looking car than the competition. It is beautiful in the classical sense, but it just has the right touch of aggressiveness to make it appeal to a younger demographic. As for the differences, this sport trim gets 19-inch wheels, which give the car a more exotic look. They definitely fill the wheel wells better than the 18s on the luxury. We'll see later how these bigger wheels affect ride quality. Also, instead of chrome trims, you get shadow line trims, which is a fancier term for gloss black. Like the luxury variant, the sport variant also gets dual exhaust tips. The sport variant doesn't get the soft closed doors of the luxury variant. But one thing that I like about BMWs is the sound of the doors closing. They sound like back vaults. So it's not really something that I miss because I like closing the doors with a bit of force anyway. So the car has a smart locking system. As long as you have the key fob with you, you can just put your finger here to lock the doors. And to unlock it, just put your hand here. As for the interior, the sport variant gets an all-black interior, while the luxury has a saddle brown interior. Both interiors look very upscale, as you'd expect from BMW. Everything is soft touch, and there are no cheap plastics. The sport variant, though, gets much better seats. The quality of leather is better. It's called Dakota leather. And you also get more adjustments. Since the Sport is geared towards those who are looking for a more sporty machine, the seats on the Sport have adjustable bolstering. And they also have adjustable thigh support. The trade-off is that the Sport loses quad zone climate control and hand gesture operations. Now, frankly, I never really used the hand gestures on the luxury, and no one really sits at the second row seats of my car, so I don't mind trading the quad zone and the hand gesture feature for the seats. I think the seats on the Sport are that much better. Anyway, we'll go into more detail later. For now, let's go on that road trip. By the way, I'm joined again on this trip by my girlfriend and also camera person Bethel. By the way, she appreciates your comments in our last video. The valley is about 60 kilometers away from QC. Since we left on a Sunday, traffic was moderate to light. It was about a 1.5 hour trip. I got about 9.1 kpl in city driving. The difference in ride quality between the 520i Sport and the Luxury is minimal, and you'll only notice the difference on the worst of roads. Like the 520i Luxury, it is very quiet inside the cabin. A bit of wind noise creeps in at 120 kph and higher, but nothing that's particularly bothersome. Tire noise is also very minimal. The car has 3 drive modes, Comfort and Eco Pro. During the trip from QC to Nuvali, I had it set to Sport. I'll talk about the different drive modes later, but they do affect the driving experience quite a bit. Okay, so here it is, guys, the final destination. Nuvali is marketed as a self-supporting eco-city. Aside from residential land, it has schools, malls, there's a water park, there's wakeboarding, there are bike trails, there aren't a lot of high-rises, and there are plenty of trees and lakes. It is a project by the Ayala, so it's quite upscale. If you're in the market for a BMW, then you're probably their target market. It is a pretty nice place to be in. Or so I heard. We spent more time getting lost than actually seeing interesting sights. We went to a mall and then to a Starbucks, and it's like we never left Manila. And also it rained, and we didn't have an umbrella, so we got stuck for a while. So the trip landing was a massive failure, but at least we had the 520i Sport to keep us company. On the way back, I wanted to see how fuel efficient the car could be, so I did a bit of hypermiling. I set it to Eco Pro, I set cruise control to 80 kph, and my fuel consumption hovered between 24 to 26 kpl, which is ridiculously good for a car of this size. Even when I had to accelerate, it never dipped below 22 kph. Like I said before, the car has 3 different drive modes. In Sport mode, throttle response is sharper, the transmission holds onto the gears longer, and also the steering feels a bit stiffer. In Eco Pro, the revs are kept to a minimum, throttle response feels a bit more dull, and the auto start stop function is a lot more aggressive. It practically turns the engine off every time you stop. The 520i Sport can do 0 to 100 kph in approximately 7.6 seconds. Considering the car size and its 2-liter engine, that is pretty impressive. As with most turbocharged engines, the power isn't linear. The engine comes to life at 2000 RPM, and you feel yourself gradually being pushed back more and more into your seat as the RPMs get higher. The gear ratios are short enough that you're always in the power band at full throttle. Now, I didn't get to test the top speed, but the official figure is 234 kph. Like on the Luxury, the steering feels precise and the ratio is pretty good. I think the steering on the Sport is a bit sharper, and that's probably because of the lower profile tires. Putting it in Sport mode makes it even sharper. If you're coming from older BMWs like the E60 and the earlier F10s, the first thing that you'll notice is that there's a bit less feedback here, and that's because the steering is electronically assisted. I don't think it's completely numb though, and I think it's something that probably only car reviewers care about. The car is rear-wheel drive, and it doesn't take much to get the rear end to rotate. For the more advanced driver, it opens up more driving techniques. You can do power oversteer. You can also drift and do donuts, although that's probably not advisable on public roads. The 5 Series is a large car, but it feels smaller because it's quite nimble, and it doesn't roll like a boat on the corners. Like most BMWs, it also feels well balanced. Despite its size, the 520i feels like a driver's car. The 520i Sport has a sticker price of 4.29 million pesos. It is slightly more expensive than the 520i Luxury, which sells for 3.9 million pesos. But BMW regularly offers promos and discounts. So if you're interested in the 520i Sport, do check out BMW's social media pages because they may have a promo by the time that you're watching this. Specs and features. The 520i Sport is the second least expensive variant of the 5 Series, but there is no such thing as a bare bones 5 Series. The Sport variant gets a power opening trunk. Trunk space is quite plentiful at 530 liters. That's more space than a lot of mid-size crossovers. It has proximity sensors around the car. Of course, it has a reverse camera. It has a 10.25-inch high-resolution screen. It has Apple CarPlay. It has navigation. It has automatic wipers and automatic headlamps. So one thing is that you can operate the navigation using voice commands, but here in the Philippines, it's a bit tricky.
Please try again.
Let's try that again. Open navigation.
Navigation. Say a menu option. For example, map or enter destination.
Enter destination.
Only spelling is possible for the selected country. Please spell out the town.
Quezon-City.
Make sure there is no background noise, then try again.
It never understands me if I have to enter a destination using voice commands. Here, let's say Trinoma.
T
R
R
I
I N O M
Trinoma.
A.
It is pretty accurate. Okay, so here at the back seat, they have plenty of legroom, as you can see. You get 2 air vents here. Unlike the luxury variant, you don't get an additional 2 zones here. But you can adjust the temperature using this knob over here. And you also got 2 USB-C ports and 1 12-volt outlet. And of course you get center armrest with 2 cup holders. You got manual sunshades here. As you'd expect from a BMW, the center tunnel is pretty high, so if you want to sit at the center, you'll have to sit like this. It's not the most comfortable position, but you do get a bit more cooling here. As for dimensions, it is 4,936 millimeters long, 1,968 millimeters wide, and 1,456 millimeters tall. It is almost a foot longer and almost 6 inches wider than my E93 series. Okay, so I've had the car for a couple of days now, and here's what I like about it. Number one, I love the seats. I love the thigh support. I didn't realize how much I needed thigh support until I sat on this car. They made the 3.5 hour trip to Nuvali and back a lot less tiring. As you can see, you can move this forward, and you can also adjust the angle of this. You can raise it. So what that basically does is it puts the weight off your heel and puts it on your thigh. It definitely helped during the 3-hour trip going to Nuvali and back. And you also get adjustable bolsters. As you can see, it's very aggressive right now, but you can adjust it. So what this basically does is it squeezes your body so you don't move from side to side when you're cornering. I like the balance of power and fuel efficiency. If you want to have fun, the car has enough power for that. And it's also rear-wheel drive, so you can make it go sideways if you want. But if you're feeling frugal, you can drive it like a nanny, and it's pretty fuel efficient. On the highway, you can get 20 kpl even without hypermiling. I got 25 to 26 while hypermiling. I like the fact that despite its size, it still feels like a driver's car. Unlike the 7 Series, which feels like a car that you should be driven in, this car feels like something that you should drive personally. I like the looks of the car. It's a head turner. It looks beautiful, it looks expensive, it looks luxurious, but it also looks kind of sporty. Now, overall, I love the car, but if I had to nitpick, I would say I wish it had more USB ports here at the front. You have one USB port here near the cup holders, and another one underneath the armrest. This is a USB-C port. Now the thing is, if you want to use your phone while charging, you'll have to give up your armrest because this will have to be open for you to charge it. And another minor annoyance is the proximity sensor, because it tends to take over the entire screen, and if you're using Waze, that can be quite annoying. And I haven't figured out a way to turn it off completely. Other than that, I don't really have a lot of complaints. If you need more specs like a sunroof or a 360 camera, you can go for the higher variants. When it comes to luxury brands here in the Philippines, there are two major brands to consider: BMW and another brand that you probably already know. I think if you're gonna go German, these two brands should be at the top of your list because they're very well established here in the Philippines, and you can find plenty of OEM and aftermarket parts for them. I've owned cars from both brands, but what I like about BMW is that you feel their presence more here in the country. There's a more active community around the brand, and there are plenty of yearly BMW events like BMW Expo and Beamer Fest. Another thing that I like about BMW is that there's always more emphasis on performance. The 520i has the smallest engine in the 5 Series lineup. It is also a very large 4-door sedan, but it still feels like a BMW. It feels like a driver's car. If you're looking for a luxurious 4-door sedan that can whisk you away in comfort, but also have fun with on the weekends, the 5 Series might be the best vehicle in the market. Okay, so you sent me some questions about the car on my community post, and I'll try to answer some of them. From riding in tandem, nakakatakot ba i-park sa Pure Gold? Medyo. As you can see, I'm parked pretty far away from other cars. From general tan, fuel mileage, I got about 9.1 kpl in the city and about 23 to 26 on the highway, and that's while hypermiling. When not hypermiling, I get about 20 kpl on the highway. Is the small engine enough for a car as big as this? It is more than enough. If you're not used to high-performance cars or European brands, the power of this car will probably surprise you. It is faster than a Civic RS Turbo. It is faster than the Kia Forte GT. I was able to do 0 to 100 kph in 7.6 seconds, which is pretty fast for a car this size. How much does the PMS cost? That I'm not sure about. But BMW offers PMS packages for this car. You'll just have to ask them about it. Okay, is the Malaysian-made 520i as good as the one from Germany? Now, the 520i Luxury is assembled in Malaysia, and this one I believe is assembled in Germany, although I'm not sure about that. Now, the advantage of the Malaysian-made 5 Series is that they're cheaper and they have a few more features. The 520i Luxury sells for 3.9 million pesos, and this one sells for 4.29 million pesos. In terms of build quality, there isn't really much difference. They're using the same parts from Germany anyway. They're just assembled in Malaysia. The seats here though are much better looking. They look like more effort was put into the design and also the assembly of it. From Kevin Paul, what are the differences between the 520i Luxury and the 520i Sport? Now, we've talked about this in the video, but I'll try to summarize it. Basically, the 520i Luxury has quad zone climate control, while the Sport only has dual zone climate control. The Luxury variant has soft closed doors, the Sport doesn't. The Luxury variant has gesture control, the Sport doesn't. The Sport has much better seats. The Sport also gets bigger 19-inch wheels, which I think make a big difference in the looks of the car. Okay, this one from Augusto Ibanez. It is junk. If you own it for long term, you will know. If short term, you think it's good. I've owned a couple of BMWs already, and I will have to respectfully disagree. I think our definitions of junk are different, but I respect your opinion. Anyway, that's it for this video. If this video was helpful to you in any way, please click on the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next video.